Still trying to debug the issue from yesterday. I'll put 2 hours here. Just after I stopped streaming yesterday, I realized that I made a silly mistake, which was to put the if statement condition the other way around. Usually, I think I put the lower number on the left and the bigger number on the right. So I think I confused the two, and then I realized that this is the one of the reasons why it wasn't showing anything there. I don't know why this happens as well, but it happened a couple of times where I spent a bunch of time trying to solve something. Then right after I stopped streaming, I realized I made like a very silly mistake. But that wasn't the only reason why it's not showing. So it was one of the reasons. So now I know that the other reason is that the numbers there are supposed to be 50 and not 0.5 because it's not numbers related to like the size of the geometry. It's just numbers relating to creating the geometry. So once I change to 50 and I fix the loops, then it shows the ball. If you put uh, if I call the function when it builds the graph. But what is happening now is that when I try to do it from the notification function, it doesn't work. So I'm trying to figure out why that's the case, because if I change the notification function for the mesh instance 3D, it shows, I put a print line statement there to see if it's going to show up. And on the mesh instance 3D from Godot, it works. But on the notifications that I have on my classes on the modules, it doesn't work for some reason. So I'm trying to figure out what is going on. So what I was just doing now is to step over once you add child, just step over. I'm probably going to do this again. I think the next thing that I was thinking about trying here is to I was going to put print statements somewhere else as well. And the thing is not calling it's weird because it calls the function. The notification on the propagate enter tree works on the graph, but then for some reason it doesn't call the function anymore. It should be, I put breakpoints there and like it doesn't stop, so it's kind of weird. Because it should be stopping at each iteration. So I'm guessing it's probably something related to the groups. So far here, I haven't seen anything that looks different from when you add a mesh instance 3D. This is just the flow of what happens after you add a child node. Then, like it pops up the GUI, and then I selected the graph 3D, which is the node that I have there, and then I clicked on create. And so far, it seems like it is pretty much the same thing that happens. I don't know for sure because there's a lot of things going on, but just based on what I see, what I saw now, it seems that this is the case. I'm just gonna press F5. The only thing that makes sense to me is that it's something related to the way that the modules work for some reason. Because it doesn't make sense for it to be the. Well, I guess the other thing that I was gonna try is to put print statements on the other nodes that I did there for the GUI nodes. I don't remember if I think control nodes do have a notification. So I'm probably gonna do that as well. But I was thinking that it might be because it didn't register some properties, but I think it doesn't make a lot of sense because it should call the notification anyway. And I did register one of the properties, I think, in one of the classes, and it shows there. So it works. I'm gonna do that for the other ones once I fix this stuff, but obviously I wanna figure this out before I do that. So let me just press F5. So if it was something related to the editor, then you wouldn't print for the mesh instance 3D. That's what's kind of weird. I'm pretty sure I put the line mesh 3D or something like that. The mesh basically of this node doesn't matter, I think, because it's gonna be a resource. So I don't need to put the notification on that class. But both this edge mesh here are graph edge 3D and the nodes 3D also. I've put the notification and put the print statement here. And also on the graph 3D, and neither of them is running anything. This is really weird. So I guess the thing that I was gonna do is just put the breakpoint here, but I think I put the breakpoints there on the graph 3D class. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, so it should immediately stop here, I think. So let me do on the editor node, just see what happens. Because I'm pretty sure the editor node runs all of them. Yeah. So if I put here stops there, and this is what is super weird about this. So I guess the next thing to try, I need to try to put on the other, I'm gonna see if the control nodes that I have there, they inherit from objects, which I think they do. And then I'm gonna try to put, oh, the other thing that I was gonna do is to add the nodes directly. But I think it's not gonna matter because it's not stopping here, so it means that Like when I put the breakpoint there, it doesn't stop. So that means it's not calling the function, which is really weird. I guess I can try to put the nodes there. I'm gonna do both on this custom physics and on the thing there. So basically this notification is supposed to run for all the class hierarchy of the object of the thing. On each frame, Godot's gonna call this function in the middle of the iteration, somewhere along the, not necessarily in the middle, but somewhere along the lines there. And based on this, it's supposed to send the notification based on the events or the part of the cycle that the thing is at. I think we're just gonna put like this. Wait. Huh. Now I stopped here. Hmm. That's really weird. So maybe it's the event, but yeah, I guess what I can try is just put on all the switch statements there. Hmm. I don't know what happened because I didn't do anything, so it's kind of weird. But let me see, because I'm pretty sure that I compared both of them. Let's see. It's kind of annoying when you step over because it opens so many files. Yeah, this is what the one that I had there. It is the same event. So the thing is, if it was because of like this node inherits from node 3D. So if it was because some of the nodes, because I do remember on the iteration function, the one that calls this that eventually calls this notification function is gonna call based on groups or something related to groups. So it could be because of the type of the node, but the thing is I set up the events on the other classes as well, and the other classes inherit from mesh instance 3D. Well, it could be that it has to be mesh instance 3D, but I don't think that's like I don't see why that would be the case because the notification function is going to run for the entire class hierarchy, as long as you put the GD class macro there. So I don't see why that would be the case. So and it seems that it is correct there. So maybe if I, it's super weird there. If I just copy this and then comments out the other ones. Maybe the order matters, but I don't think that would be the case. I don't see why that would be the case. I have to. Hmm. Just gonna close everything. Missions yesterday. Let me just remove everything. The notification enter 3 is the first that I put there. So it should be the exact same. Did I change something? Or so yeah, it does make sense that it's working because otherwise like it wouldn't work on the enter tree. Because I'm building the nodes and the edge on the enter tree events. And that one I know that it works because of the print statement that I put there. So it does make sense for the notification to be working, but so the question is why isn't it receiving the notification process event? Because the edge 3D and the node 3D they inherit from mesh instance 3D. So what is the best way to ask this question? Because it's something related to the groups. So I think I'm gonna open there the sing tree function. I'm gonna open the find the main iteration, then go to the place that the event gets submitted in the first place. And I'm pretty sure it's notification process, but I think it's based on groups. So maybe if I study that part there, on how it selects which nodes it sends the notification. Maybe I thought that I tried to put the breakpoint there on the function, but I didn't. So I'm gonna close and then I'm gonna show. I'm gonna show what happens when it's just gonna print there if I put the thing on the mesh instance 3D. The print statement that I have there. Basically this one that I put, and it's the exact same event. I'm just changing the mesh instance 3D, which is from Godot. So when I do this, it's gonna show there a bunch of times. This is the thing that is weird about this. But now that I've seen that it works there, it's something to do with the. I have to understand how the groups work. I think it's on the main file, the iteration. Iteration. So there's two functions that I remember that I wrote down at some point. Oh, I also realized that it might not be as complicated as I thought it would be to figure out the rendering thing and the shaders. Because I do remember there's a part here, there's a comment, I think, that describes that the parts is like the rendering parts. And also to understand there are the functions for the rendering. It's probably gonna take some time, but I think it's not that complicated, I think. So one of the main parts is this one. This function, I remember that it traverses the tree at some point and calls notification. And it's probably going to be the physics process, obviously, because of the name here on the GD script. And the only difference is that GD script has the underscore. So I think that GD script maps to notifications on the nodes. And also you can do events, but I think some events are limited on the nodes. So the nodes don't emit the same signal for all the events that notification works. So I think you have to use notification. And this is the main one. So it's both displays and the physics process there. So the notification process I think happens here. But if you go through here, it's gonna go here, but I think it is calling from the scene tree. It's basically, so it's gonna eventually call this thing here, but it comes from the process function, I think. Process. And maybe it's this one. So this is the part that I don't understand very well, is what is this process groups here? Because I think that's the only reason why you would call the notification on some nodes. So the question is whether or not I can find this on the documentation here. I don't remember if I seen somewhere all the events that can happen there. I think I can look from. I just basically get from the GUI, the IDE or the editor, and just the name is gonna be the same. I can get it from the enum there. Yeah, it's probably easier. So I can go to the definition and see all the enums that are declared there. But I think it's this place here. That's the function. So it calls the function here. The problem with this though is that if I put the breakpoint here, it's gonna be very annoying to figure out because there are so many nodes, and unless I change the code and I put some function here, but I don't understand the values. So maybe I will look into this a couple of times, step over and see, watch the values on the right there. Just think about one condition that I can put there to only break the code if the condition is hit, let's say. But I'm pretty sure that this is the function that is going to call there, and this is the function that is going to call the notification for the nodes. Yeah, it either calls physics or it's probably going to call both, depending on what part of the cycle it is. So it's supposed to call here, and it does call for the mesh instance 3D. So the only thing that makes sense would be, I guess this thing I haven't seen. So I think it should be one on mine. So it's probably not this. So it has to be the group thing, I think. I'm gonna compile. So I'm gonna put the breakpoints probably on these functions. I'm gonna put here on the other one, and I think I'm gonna step over. Well, let me look for the part that it says that is gonna render stuff. Yeah, so it's basically here, I think. So the display server is the thing that is gonna draw, and this happens here. So in order to understand how they use, it might be kind of confusing, but I think it's probably not as confusing as I thought it would be. So yeah, I can step into this function here. So uses the display server to check, and then uses the rendering server to draw. The rendering server probably is gonna have access to the resources, which are the shaders. I'm just gonna show first the message there. I think I'm gonna try to uh, test with the physics thing. I did put on the physics, custom physics. And so now it shows the message here, which means it is I forgot to, yeah, but you should have, if it is. Now, another thing that I have to fix that I just remember now, but is this values here. I'm not really sure why this is happening, but some of the values, like looks full, but the value is not this the one that shows here. And I think I probably made some mistake, but I don't know. Like the other ones are correct, so I'm not really sure what's going on. It looks like it's not working here for this one as well. So it might be something to do with the modules, I think. Like it's the only explanation that makes sense. Is the way that I'm registering the classes. Yeah, so I think one way to there's two possible ways. One way is to look for the rendering cycle, and the other way is to find the function that initializes the modules. Because the other stuff is not initialized on the class DB. That's the thing. I think the other classes they are initialized the moment you call the constructor, because the object when you call the constructor for the class, it's going to initialize the object. So when Godot's allocating the thing on the memory pool, it's going to call a function from the object that is going to call class DB, and that's the thing that is going to initialize the class. So that's one of the differences. And the other one could be, but I think that's the only difference that makes sense if the problem is because the classes are from the modules. The other approach is to look into the rendering cycle. So either the rendering cycle or look into the module functions, but I think it's more likely to be, it's probably better to look into the rendering cycle first. Because I don't think that is something related to modules. I think it's probably something related. It might be related to modules, but in an indirect way, where for some reason nodes that are parts of modules, they don't receive the same notifications, or but that probably has to do with the. So here, for example, it goes to 1 and 0, but it shows almost full there. But the other one seems correct. These other inputs here, so I'm not really sure what's going on. Oh, there's a bunch of errors here. Hmm. Yeah, but I think this is fine. Maybe I should change this so that I think it's just displaying a warning there. And it's like the same stuff that displays on normal signals. But maybe I should remove the or put a different kind of warning. Because it's not supposed to be. I have to see what kind of warning that they use to put yellow color here. Because it's not supposed to be a serious warning. It's like done on purpose. So basically, I think that's the custom physics component is emitting signal. Sure, is emitting the update parameter signal from the global signal class that I created. Because obviously later the purpose is going to be to connect that component with the graph. So, but it's supposed to uh, emit the signal, be able to emit the signal even if there are no functions connected to it. So I'm just gonna comment out the I'm trying to think about what is the best way to go about figuring this out. I think that the only thing that makes sense. So another thing I can do is just create a simple class. And that's what I'm gonna do. I think that's probably better to do it first. So I'm gonna put it on the mesh instance 3D, like on the same place that the mesh instance 3D is. The only thing that's kind of annoying because maybe I put another folder here. But I think it's probably better to put it on the exact same folder because otherwise there's a chance there might be something else. So the question is, so I'm gonna just try to do this. So I don't think you need to. So I guess we'll find out if you need to register, but I don't think you do. I think it automatically registers the class once you initialize. Because these normal classes from Godot, you don't have to call register class. So I guess this is the question: is why do you need to call it on the? Maybe you do call it at some point, but I'm not really sure where. So yeah, I guess I can search for this here. Mesh instance 3D. It's basically just some plugins and on my stuff. Yeah, so I don't think you need to explicitly register the classes that are parts of Godot. So what I'm gonna try to do is just create another. I'm gonna copy the mesh instance TD and just remove all the functions, everything else. Just gonna put it in notification and then I'm gonna print there and see what happens. And this one is probably better to just copy the imports or the includes. And then the notification and the bind methods as well. I'm gonna just comment it out so that's yes, whatever. Bind methods. I'm not gonna test without this. And here, just put it like this. And now it should be pretty close. So let me see if it's gonna compile. So I'm gonna ask this to ChatGPT. So um, I think it's just because of the way that it compiles. I'm not sure if that's true because I don't remember seeing like the thing is that there are true instances of the engine, but I don't remember because the engine does create a bunch of singletons on the core register something function. The function that the file that registers all the singletons, but it just registers the singletons, not the classes, like the meshes and other stuff like that. So I don't think that the engine registered the classes like mesh instance 3D. I think that doesn't make sense. Hmm. Yeah, so because it's not showing here, it means that there needs to be a place where the classes are registered. Maybe it does happen on the function, on the file. Oh, register sync types. So it does happen here. It doesn't happen on the engine, it happens on this file here, probably. So what I'm gonna do is just copy the mesh instance 3D. So the first thing is to put here. So 3D my custom. Hmm. Comparability class. Oh, I think it's just because, probably because of the versions or something like that that this exists. I'm not really sure actually. It might be because of 3D. I don't think I need to do this thing for the class that I have there, just should task. So I think the only place is this register class here, which I think is pretty much the same macro that I'm using on the modules. So I'm gonna close, compile again. It should show there now, unless there's some other file that they use to register stuff. I should have comments commented out. Hmm. So it's not something related to modules. I'm just gonna remove. Let me save, then remove the prints. But obviously, it seems that it's not showing anything there. So it's something else that I'm not doing here. Might be something stupid that I'm missing again. It's so weird. It could be something related to the binds, but I don't understand because the other one is calling. So like this is the thing that doesn't make sense. So I guess the question to clarify is how does it determine what nodes are gonna receive what kinds of notification? Because the other nodes are definitely receiving, is definitely calling the notification because the enter tree function is working for the graph. So it's just not receiving this notification here. So it must be because the logic that they use to call the process group there. So the way that they group the nodes, that makes sense. But this one is on the same file, on the same path of the meshing SHD, and it's basically the same thing. So that is the weird part. It could be because of the destructor. Yeah, that's the reason why I commented. But I'm not really sure. Like, I don't see why this would be the case. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I guess I'm just gonna try this. So the next thing is probably just go over the try to step over the function that actually emits the notification for the process. I'm gonna find there through the source codes. I'm just gonna put the breakpoint on the function that's on the process group function from the sync tree. So the other thing is obviously to spend some time trying to figure out here from this class what's exactly do they do. Maybe it's a member variable here. Not sure, it's probably garbage way to ask this, but no, it's not showing anything. I'm gonna put the breakpoint here. The thing is, I want to see if I can think about a different way to test things because this way I think is gonna be kind of hard to figure out. Maybe I put another one here just for the first time. Just see what is going on. I should put another, but I'm pretty sure the enter tree is working. So it's just the, hey, thanks for the follow. It's just the type of notification that is sending. So for some reason it doesn't, it doesn't call the process for these nodes, but it doesn't make any sense because it's exactly the same node. So I think the only explanation is the group thing. I was thinking about stepping over the parts that builds the shader later. So I think that's like if I can, that's probably better. Like because like the main priority that I have now is to be able to I have to study Blender and then figure it's gonna be kind of hard, I think. I think it's probably gonna be easier than Godot was. I I hope because now I have more experience, but I think it's gonna take a lot of time. Uh, and I thought it would be easy, so like it wasn't. I wasn't expecting to have to do this. So because in my mind, the first time that I saw the tube geometry there, trail tube geometry on Godot, it seemed that I would be able to draw the edge using that geometry, but because I'm not gonna be able to do that, I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time studying the how do they do it on Blender, and I'm not really sure how much time that's gonna take. So ideally, I would be able to do that first, and then after I have everything set up, then I could spend more time thinking about the shaders and trying to study how they select the whole drawing pipeline, uh, like how the drawing. But maybe I'm gonna have to do it now because of this stuff here. I think that there's two approaches. One is to spend a bunch of time. Like maybe what I could do is just copy 100% of the Machine History Day class and just change the name of the other class, and then see if that works to call the event. I think that's probably a good idea because it's easier. And then, but then like the problem would be how to figure out what kind of things like it's probably something if it is because of that, it's probably something related to the bind methods, I think. But I don't see why that would be the case because the bind method is just to register the functions. So it doesn't make any sense to me that. And if it was something based on the type of node, unless the type of node is distinguished based on the mesh instance 3D itself and not the classes that inherits from, but I'm pretty sure that geometry also is gonna process the thing, I think. So like the class hierarchy should be the same from the class that I have there. So I'm not really sure. Oh, it might be because of this. So let me see. Oh, but it doesn't have anything here. And this macro should be on the node class. So that's the thing. So I was thinking that it might be because of the macros that register the GDScript stuff. Because of this. But it's the same class hierarchy, that's the thing. Hmm. So I guess one idea would be to the initialization of the scene tree is gonna be on the main setup function. So I guess one idea would be to start the debugger from that point. Right, I think that probably is like gonna be easier. So this other thing is also like I never understood this X form list. I'm not really sure if it's necessary to know this stuff now. So I think that's if I can find the place that has the logic to initialize the values there, then I think probably That's probably the most productive thing because then it's probably going to be inside of the function that the distinction is made. Because I think that's the only thing that makes sense. So, like, there's something going on this on the function that puts nodes here. I think on this process groups. So I think that's probably going to be better. Sure. So the other thing that I never understood is this X form change list. I think it's going to be more productive to try to figure out, go from the initialization of the sync tree, and then try to, or maybe I should look for the function here. Like, what function is, what function is going to put the nodes on the process group for the first time? I can look into the constructor here as well. I don't think it's gonna have anything. And maybe that's. So it might be based on the project settings. Default process groups. So this is the thing here. So the question is, how does it? So this is probably the reason why it's not showing, even though everything is the same. There's probably some questions. Where is this initialized? So apparently not here. Hmm. So the only thing that makes sense, if there isn't anything here, is that it's going to be initialized based on another variable. And the question is where, how can I find? I guess I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, but I'll probably ask ChatGPT is the easiest one first. Then I'll think about if I can find anything here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's is not here. Or maybe just pushing the like empty or uninitialized thing here, but it looks like there isn't anything. It might be based on settings or something. But now I think it's becoming more clear on my mind. So basically, I'm pretty sure now that this is what's happening. So they separate everything, the events that each node is going to receive based on this list, whatever the type of this is, this struct here. And I think probably it makes sense because, for example, just like common sense, control nodes would, it makes more sense for a control node to receive different kinds of events than node 3D or node 3D. So basically, based on the differences, each node is gonna be called because the notifications are called each time, I think, on the rendering cycle. So I'm not really sure if that makes a lot of sense actually, because if the notification is gonna be called anyway, why not send the notification for all nodes? But there's probably a reason for this. It's probably something along those lines that because some nodes, maybe it's just because of this case here to avoid people from putting functions on certain notifications because of it doesn't make sense for certain kinds of nodes, certain types of nodes to call certain functions at certain points of the cycle. So because of that, they separate these event types. They are sent with the notification function based on what kind of node it is. So it doesn't have to do class hierarchy. It's probably something related to the name. Yo, man, thank you. So maybe it doesn't initialize there, but the weird thing, so like I said, it has to be, it's probably, maybe if I search for this one, I'm gonna find stuff. So maybe what is happening there is just pushing this as an empty thing, an uninitialized struct inside of this thing here on the constructor. Then later on it's gonna initialize this somehow. So it has to be this function. Hmm. So I think that the node that it passes here, yeah, but that's kind of weird. So the owner is gonna be the node that it passes here, and then the data is gonna be equal to the process group on the nodes. So it updates a value on the nodes. So each node, and the data is used on the node class, I think, which is just for naming so that it don't clutter or whatever, however you say this, like put a bunch of names on the namespace so that people are able to inherit from node and put their own names. So it's just basically a wrapper to uh, allow them to put these names here. So it's basically gonna update the value here of the process group when it adds the nodes there. And then it pushes. Hmm. So I guess, yeah. So here is weird because it doesn't have. So it must be on this thing here. Hmm. So when the node enters the tree, it does this stuff. So the defaults should not call this thing here. So I guess it is related to the threads, but I'm not really sure how it works. So obviously there's only two potential, and maybe this other one as well. That's because I'm using the underscore there. But the thing that is weird is that like these functions are on the node class and the inheritance chain is the same on both situations. So this is the thing that is kind of confusing me. Because if it is like, for what reason would one the mesh instance with the not hit the condition there to add the process group, and the other one do? So the only thing that makes sense is the hierarchy, like the relationship between different nodes on the tree. But it's kind of confusing because if it was something like that, then I think that my custom class there that I created should send event. It might be because no, but they're all in the same level, so but I guess I can try. I can see what happens when I put the my custom node at the top there. It might be because the mesh instance is the first one. So the first nodes of the level, let's say, is the one that is part of the process, but I don't think that makes sense. Like I don't see why they would create it like this, so it's kind of confusing. And there's nothing here that seems that is directly related to the. Oh, maybe it's this stuff here. And group. I think it's not, probably not this. Oh, it might be actually. But I don't think it is. Because this should be only related to properties, not the node itself. So I think I understand what is going on there when it comes to how it's gonna. I don't understand the nuances, but the general view of like what is going on. But I don't understand why he's only sending the events for the machines 3D and not the node that I have there. It doesn't make any sense to me. So how can I explore this? It might be on the initialization of the class, but they both have the same. That's the thing. This answer is not correct, I think. So let me go back to the constructor here and think about what is going on. So yeah, so I'm gonna spend more time on the constructor and then I'm going to see if I can find the place where the sync tree is initialized and see like manually walk from there. Just read the code, just see if there is something there that might be the difference. It's just debug stuff. So process group call queue allocator. I'm gonna look into the constructor of the window as well, but I don't think that's is gonna be there. So it might be the moments that this gets initialized. So I guess one thing that I can do to test is to the way that I'm thinking about now is that it might be because of the at the points that the sync tree is initialized, the mesh instance 3D is already parts of the sync because it is cached on the file. But I think that doesn't make a lot of sense because I think the notification should work for like they should design in a way that is going to work for all the nodes. So I don't think that's makes a lot of sense. But obviously what I can do to test is just to create another project or to delete the nodes on the scene there or create another scene as well on the same project. Because here it seems that it is calling this function here and it's probably going to be yeah, so there is another thing there on the mesh instance 3D on the notification. So there's nothing on the constructor, but I wonder if it is. And maybe it could be here somewhere. Maybe it's this thing here. That's. I think this is only when you put a skeleton on the mesh instance 3D. yeah, I don't think that's obviously what I could do to test is just to comment it out there. It's really easy, but I don't think that's the. I don't think that function is the one that is putting the mesh instance on the process, whatever. And it doesn't seem like there is anything here as well. Just the name of controls. The only line related is this last line here. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just go over the main file there and see if I can find stuff related to this thing. Like it doesn't seem that it is any of the functions there. Like it doesn't make any sense. I think it's something related to the. It's probably like they put the types explicitly there of the. But it is kind of a weird thing to do, to be honest, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like they should design in a way that is going to work for whatever nodes you put that inherits from nodes. So like it makes me think that it's probably something else, but I have no idea what could be the case. So let me just look into the main thing there. I guess if I look into the classify, yeah, here. Maybe something related to the editor. I don't think it's specifically to the editor because otherwise it would be showing when you run the game, I think. The problem is that all this stuff here is kind of confusing to parse to understand what is going on. So the main thing to look at is the process groups here. Might be something on the sphere, now that I think about it. But the thing is, if it was something because of the sphere, it wouldn't call on the mesh instance 3D, I think. But it might be when you add the sphere for some reason. Right? I think that's probably not the reason. So another thing that you should try is to add a mesh instance 3D without geometry. Without a mesh. This kind of stuff here is kind of, it's like it's hard to figure out what is going on here in the information here. This is probably all the nodes from the editor. So I'm not gonna be able to see much from here, I think. Fuck. The thing is that here's gonna show the macro, so that's kind of the problem. It just shows on the macro. And the other issue is this, is that there's so many nodes because it's gonna show for everything on the editor. So I think that this approach is probably not gonna be the best to figure out what is going on. But it's something related to the process groups there, so maybe it's better to just spend time figuring out on the, I'm trying to see on the scene tree, follow the logic there on the main. Because the only thing that makes sense is that it has to be something related to the way that the scene tree is gonna, the way that the process group is gonna work. But the function there is only on the node. So if it is called somewhere, it's gonna be based on some other data. And that's the reason why it doesn't show, because it has a different name. thing that is weird is that like, it doesn't seem that is like there. I can't think about anything special that the Mesh Instance 3D would have. So I guess the other thing I'm gonna try to test the other stuff that I'm thinking about, which is just to open the project and then like add nodes, remove nodes, and then puts because it might be because of the order, but I think it's unlikely. So yeah. So like add a new node, Mesh Instance 3D. I'm gonna remove the two that I have there and then just add another one. Maybe because of the cache of the file. So like if you open the project with without a sync file, then what happens? So I think that those two approaches are probably the best way to figure out is to test a bunch of stuff and then to manually go over the code and try to see if I can find or clarify the stuff related to the process groups. Then the more clarified, the easier it's gonna be, I think. Yeah, but the problem is that I commented out, but so I'm just gonna delete and then I'm gonna start again. Delete the two spheres and I'm gonna put the custom nodes on top of the thing. So control and then the up arrow. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the reason why it's not. The other thing that I found weird is that I've seen here that it doesn't necessarily delete the nodes from the file. So I added a world environment at some point and then I deleted it from the GUI, but it didn't delete from here, so I actually manually delete. It was kind of weird, so. But I think these two ones it deleted from here. So I'm gonna open again. I'm gonna uncomment the stuff there to print. I'm gonna see if I add a node from the GUI if it's gonna start printing the line here. Well, the other thing is to comment this stuff out because it might be related, but I think I doubt. I'm gonna comment this one out as well. It might be some like it has to be something with the variables here or some either the variables or the name of the class that for some reason it manually puts there. Like probably there's some code somewhere that puts a bunch of types and then based on those types decides what kind of events that's gonna send to each node based on those process groups thing. So it might be because of the exact name of the type and it might be because of some member variable. I think it's more likely to be something related to the name of the class. I guess, yeah, but the thing is, if I try on the other ones, then like, it's unlikely because probably all the standard classes are gonna have. And it's like the weird thing is that I think it doesn't make sense for them to do things this way, so it might be something else that I'm overlooking. Because like it would make a lot more sense to support by default new nodes that you put that are not part of Godot to run function to be able to run functions on the notification process. And the editor node also runs the notification process as well. So it might be something else that I'm like overlooking there. But I'm not really, like just based on the code, it doesn't seem that there's anything. And for the other classes, there are more reasons why you could be wrong, but for this one, I don't see the reason why. But the thing that is weird on this one is that it's not showing in the enter tree. So maybe, yeah. I think it's probably showing. Hmm. It is. So I'm gonna remove this one as well. Let me. Hmm. Or array mesh is also. I'm gonna remove the array mesh there. Because array mesh is also mesh instance 3D. I think the camera is not meshing this 3D. So it's weird because I'm gonna add my custom again first, just see if it's gonna show enter tree there. So it does show enter tree. So the tree is working. It's just the process group. There's something weird about that. I'm gonna add again mesh. Interesting. So now it doesn't show. Hmm. So it has should be something related with the mesh. So yeah, obviously the next thing to try should put this. Maybe it wasn't showing because interesting. Yeah, that's very weird. So now it's not showing anything. So now I'm gonna close again and I'm gonna open. I think what is happening is because of the order. But it's really weird if it works like this. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Hmm. So I'm gonna close and then open the thing again. But if it was because it is cached on the scene file, then the other ones should print as well, the graph and the microsome class. Because they were already part of the scene. So I don't know what's going on. Now it's not showing anything anymore. Interesting. What the fuck? It might be because of the material of the mesh. So I'm gonna try to do that. Nothing. So maybe the position. I should change one thing at a time and then restart the thing. Oh, it might be because I commented out the... So first I'm gonna restart and then see if it's gonna work, but I think it's not. So it's probably because of the skeleton thing. So there's something that happens on the skeleton function, on this function here, resolve skeleton path, that is gonna put the mesh instance 3D on the group there. So I have to see. So what I'm gonna do is just test a bunch of things. I'm gonna look into the function. So I'm pretty sure that this is the case. So first, just gonna test with this. Then I'm gonna compile again, uncomment the function, compile again, see what happens. Then if it does work to start processing, I'm gonna look into the code, see what's going on. It's kind of weird that it's related to the threads as well. I'm not really sure why that's the case. So like the way that they do the threads is related to the way that they are gonna manage the tree. So I think that's probably, yeah, but I don't understand why that's the case. So it's nothing is happening. So yeah. So now I'm on comments function. Like obviously, if I can't do it like this, then I think there are other ways to figure out how to do it. I can make based on the events. I can make like I can find a way to do it to run the function each time, each frame. But obviously, I want to understand how this stuff works, and I think I'm gonna spend more time. But like I said, it's probably better. Like if I can avoid spending time now fixing this, then I'm gonna avoid because I want to get this done fast, so I have so I know that I can just build the mesh based on the points there, because the hardest part is going to be to figure out how to do the line 3D. I think that's going to be really hard. So when I'm trying to get that done as fast as possible, and then I come back to all this stuff. Like once I do that, then the problem is that there's a bunch of other stuff that I have to figure out or that I have to do to get to the point that I had there on the front end. So implement like the most annoying part is to position the arrow and also to like be able to put labels and stuff like that on the edge. The edge is the most difficult thing because of the curve, the Bezier curve, and how hard it is to do like a 3D line. So, and the other parts of the other graph functions are kind of annoying as well to figure out. Or like these small details about the arrow and the position of the edge. So I remember that was very annoying on the front end to figure out like exactly how, because you can't put the edge directly at the center of the node, because then it overlaps the arrow. So that's kind of annoying. And there's other stuff that is kind of annoying as well. So now it's not, it's weird. So what is going on? Hmm. I'm gonna put another print statement here. Sure. But I think it has to be this thing here, probably. Yeah. So I'm gonna put another print statement there. So nothing is showing, so I'm gonna delete this. So it might be because when you move there, that's kind of weird. Oh, it's the mesh. Hmm. So the mesh is gonna be wherever you put there. So it's gonna be primitive mesh. The standard meshes for the mesh instance 3D. And is on the notification here. So the only one that has is the text. Yeah, so I think that's probably not the issue. So what the fuck's going on? Like it was showing the thing and now it's not showing anymore. I really doubt that is this thing here, because only the text here has a notification. So it doesn't make any sense to be this. But now I really don't know why, like what is going on. Because I didn't change anything as far as I remember. So obviously there was something on those other mesh instances that he was creating the logs there. So it should be possible to do this again. I think it could be because of the scene as well, the cache of the meshes. But I don't. It might. Yeah, but I was gonna say it might be because of this translation, but I don't think that's. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Hmm. Oh, so it is showing here, but now it's not showing all the time. Interesting. So I don't think this was showing before. And it's interesting that it doesn't mesh. Oh no, it's showing because of the, yeah, it didn't change, so that's the reason why. So this one is probably not working yet. So what's going on? What else did I do there on the other thing? Let's see. I don't remember if I changed this values. I don't think that's the. Maybe the geometry. Oh, I think I remember. So I do think that I put the collision here. I don't remember where, but oh, it was collision shape, I think. Oh, but I think that this was a separate thing. Yeah, I think that this was a separate. Oh, so maybe if I change here. Yeah, see if I can find something based on the name. Maybe because of the script. If that is the case. The reason why it's failing here is because of the mesh. But I don't think that's the case. Otherwise, you'd probably be showing. Maybe because the. But I think I do remember putting a collision shape, but I think I put on like a separate spot, and then I deleted later. But I don't think that's the reason why. But I don't understand what's happening. I didn't change anything, and now it was showing before, and now it's not showing anything there. So let me comment the zones. But I think it doesn't make sense to be this. It could be that it was something else on the scene, and then when I deleted it, obviously. But the thing is, as far as I remember, the stuff that I put there on the new nodes that I added is the same stuff that I had on the other mesh instances. So I'm not really sure why it's not showing anything now. And I do think that based on the mode there, you should probably change. So like when you change the modes on the node here, you should change how whether or not it calls the thing. The node's processing behavior, yeah. Crash process mode from the nodes, parents. This is the default for any newly created node. So last thing I'm gonna do is just close this and compile again and see. Maybe I changed this by mistake, but I don't think I did. Yeah. But now I understand more there, and I think that in order to be able to process, I'm gonna have to do something with that process mode. I have to study these other functions from the can process and whatever, and understand this process group and this kind of stuff. But I'm just gonna try to solve this, and I'm not gonna I'm just gonna study enough to be able to solve this thing, so I'm able to use the process there. Because I do think that there are other ways that I can think about solving this stuff. The main thing that I'm trying to achieve is just to be able to call the function that is gonna create a mesh at each frame for the array mesh. So it basically creates the points, and I already tested, so now that I know that it works, the function that I had from the previous string, just changing the values there from 0.5 to 50, it works, and but basically I have to refresh that. You have to call the function each frame because the mesh is going to be dynamic. So the main difference between the dynamic mesh and the other standard meshes is that usually on the standard meshes that you have there on Mesh Instance 3D, you're going to select the shape which is going to be one of the primitive meshes that I showed here. So it's going to be on this file here, and it's going to inherit from this class. So there's the sphere and the other ones. And those meshes, it basically works the same way. It's just a function that they call, which I think is create something. Let me see from the sphere. Primitive mesh. Let me get one that, let me get see if I can get this here. So it's going to be this function here. So this function is a function that they override from the primitive mesh. And this function is the one that's going to create the vertices. But the main difference is that, as far as I understand now, the standard meshes, they call this function once, and then they create the points for creating the mesh. And then everything else you're going to do, you're just going to change the same mesh. So you're just changing the position of the whole thing. But if you want a dynamic mesh, then what happens is that you have to reconstruct the points each time because the shape is changing each frame. So something like water, for example, or something that changes its shape each frame, you have to do the same function at every frame. So that's basically what I'm trying to achieve here. Because I'm trying to create, for now is rendering a sphere, the function that I have there, but I'm gonna try to create a line 3D for Godot, and the line is gonna change depending on the physics simulation. So I'm gonna have to renew the shape each time because it's gonna be based on a Bezier curve. If I can make that happen, I'm not sure how hard it's gonna be, but I do think that it's gonna be very hard because based on the stuff that I've seen so far. So just wanna solve this, but I wanna understand how everything works here on the process because I do think that it makes a lot more sense to put this function inside of the process on the notification. Or either process or process physics, but it's going to be probably like a similar logic, the way that they do things there. So I think it makes sense to study this now to figure out how this works or clarify how this works. Then only when I understand, I'm able to solve, to run the function from the notification, then I can move on to figuring out to studying Blender. The next thing I'm going to do is just study the Blender source code to figure out how Blender builds the line. Based on the Bezier curve, if you change one of the properties of the Bezier curve on the geometry, it allows you to put depth. So that basically builds line 3D. And if I can do that programmatically, so the idea is to figure out how they build the vertices for that geometry, then create an algorithm that uses the same stuff that they use, and then just put that on Godot. Then I'm gonna use that. Oh, so now it's working. So maybe it was because of so since it's working now, I'm going to try again it might be because of the translation there. So it might be because of this, but I don't understand. I don't think it's because of this actually. I think it's more likely should be because of this, because this is gonna run each time. And this one, yeah, so I'm gonna comment the other one first, but I'm pretty sure that it might be something else. It might be because of the cache there of the scene. It's either the cache or the scene. Like, so every time that you create a scene and you add a node, it's gonna write to the file there on the project, and the file is the thing that they use to load everything that it represents the scene. So what I'm thinking is that it might be because in the sequence, in the way that it creates there. So on the main, so first there's two main functions that is gonna run. Three main functions that it runs before, actually for the whole process, which are from the main. The first one is setup, so it's main setup. The other one's main start, and the other one's main iteration. So on the main setup, when you're running the executable for the editor, and it will pass slash the path and then the path to the project, and then what's gonna happen is that on the setup thing is gonna initialize the node, and it's gonna initialize the scene tree here. So here, if I remember, it is the main setup function, either main setup or main setup true, but they are called at the same time. Let's say the main setup true is just called at the end of the main setup. So this only starts. This is not on the main setup. But I'm pretty sure that it does call this. Or maybe not. Maybe the node initialization. I'm pretty sure it's on the main setup. But the CPU but what I'm thinking is that it could be because of the time that it initializes things. So when it caches when I have the mesh cached on the scene, then at the moment that it calls the process group, whatever there, the nodes already are on the scene. And that's the reason why it makes them a part of the process group that is going to receive the notification of the process because the nodes are already a part of the scene. But if you put the node on from the editor, then it doesn't know that yet. But I don't think that's the case, because if that was the case, the other nodes wouldn't be working, I think. So it's more likely that it's something related to the functions are the mesh instance 3D calls, I think. Or either that or some other property. But it's gonna be one of the classes related to mesh instance 3D, I think. That's the only thing that makes sense. So all I have to do is figure out what class is this. So I can run a bunch of tasks again to see, like, just do these experiments and commenting out one step at a time, and then see what exactly is being responsible for creating this. Putting the node as part of the notification process. Then once I figure that out, I can look at the function, figure out what part of the function is going to be. It's going to put the node on the process. But now I'm pretty sure that it is the it's going to be the process variable there, I think. So what I can do is just put that variable on the other graph node. Then based on that, it's probably going to allow me to run the function from the process, from the notification process on the graph 3D. And I'm probably going to run the function on the graph edge 3D, which is going to be a member variable as part of the vector of the graph 3D. So on the graph edge 3D, there's going to be a notification. Then inside of that notification, it's going to run the function that builds the mesh, the array mesh from the vertices. Once I make that happen, then I can start focusing. I'm going to study the source code of Blender and try to implement. So it might be because I changed the mode here or something like that. So now is always, so I'm going to put inherit again. The thing that is weird is that like it wasn't showing when I changed. So it might be because I changed and then I restarted. This one I don't think I changed. And the thing is I have to change one thing at a time, just say. So clearly it's not this stuff here. It's not the skeleton path. And so now I changed the other one. And the last thing that I'm gonna try, then I'm gonna stop streaming. Probably gonna try some more stuff off stream. But I do think that it's not gonna be that hard to figure out. Once I figure out, I can just do these experiments and then figure out. So I'm not gonna have to spend a bunch of time looking at the rendering loop there to figure out what is going on. So this is the last one that I'm gonna try here. Just see if it stops. Fuck. Picked the wrong thing. So it's something else there that I changed. So it's probably, I think that it's probably something to do here, or it's probably the collision stuff for some reason, even though I removed. Not really sure, but okay. So I'm gonna do more experiments upstream, and yeah, next time either if I solve this upstream, next time I'm going to study the Blender's source code probably, and if I don't solve this, then next time I'm just gonna try to figure out here. I'm just probably gonna spend time studying the rendering cycle there to figure out how does the process group logic works there to understand how these events work. Then once I figure it out, I'm just going to implement the function. As soon as I'm able to implement the function to build the mesh every frame based on the identification process on the GraphEdge3D class that I have there, then I'm going to focus on Blender and trying to translate. So I think I'm gonna make a separate, like I'm gonna create a separate file and then create a function on that file. And then I'm going to try to build the function like as a separate thing to build, like the whole function is going to be building the vertices to create a line 3D based on two points, maybe a vector of points that are the source, the target, and the control points in the middle to form the Bezier curve. And just try to take the stuff from Blender to be able to create this algorithm that's going to create the 3D line. It's going to be a Bezier curve, and if I'm able to make that happen, then all I have to do is just put that function as part of the other class and then update the function each frame based on the position of the source and the target nodes. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, see you